Most people think evolution only builds, it adds, it improves. It doesn't. It also deletes. In 1834, British colonists in Tasmania observed something that shouldn't have been possible. Aboriginal Tasmanians maintained fires constantly, but when those fires went out, they had to borrow embers from neighboring groups. They could not create fire from scratch, not with friction, not with percussion, not at all. Their ancestors crossed the open ocean using watercraft. Their deeper ancestors mastered fire at least 400,000 years earlier. And yet, after roughly 10,000 years of island isolation, the knowledge was gone, not lost, erased. Archaeologist Rhys Jones called it a slow strangulation of the mind. This is not a story about their failure. It is a warning about what happens to any human population when the pressure to survive disappears. And here's the part nobody tells you. You've lost abilities too. Abilities your body still carries traces of. Abilities that, when they vanished from other human groups, left behind mass graves. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 4 ancient human abilities that science has proven you once had, and what happened to the populations who lost them before you. This is not theoretical. For every ability I'm about to discuss, there is fossil evidence. There are mass burial sites. There are entire branches of the human family tree that went extinct because one adaptation failed under the wrong circumstances. The Tasmanians lost fire and spent generations terrified of the dark. What did your ancestors lose? And what did it cost them? Ability 1, Echolocation and Spatial Dead Reckoning. The first ability you lost is something bats are famous for, and blind humans are proving still exists. Human echolocation is real. Daniel Kish, blind since infancy, navigates the world by clicking his tongue and reading the echoes. fMRI scans of his brain show something extraordinary. When Kish echolocates, his visual cortex lights up. The part of your brain designed to process sight is capable of processing sonar instead. The wiring is still there, and it's not just Kish. In a 2011 fMRI study published in PLOS One, researchers scanned blind echolocation experts while they processed echoes from their own mouth clicks. The visual cortex, the same brain areas sighted people use to see, lit up in response to sound. The brain didn't need rewiring, it needed reminding. Now here's where it gets dark. Ancient humans navigated vast landscapes without maps or compasses, using spatial dead reckoning, tracking your position by mentally integrating distance, direction, and time. The Sand people of the Kalahari still do this. A hunter can track a wounded antelope for 40 kilometers and find their way back to camp without a single landmark. But when groups lost this ability, when they became dependent on fixed settlements and predictable routes, they became vulnerable in a way you wouldn't expect. Archaeological sites in the Levant, roughly 15,000 years old, reveal a brutal pattern. During periods of abrupt climate shift, sedentary Natufian populations suffered catastrophic mortality spikes. Meanwhile, more mobile groups in the same region survived. Why? Because the mobile groups could leave. They knew how. The sedentary populations, despite having more food stored in their granaries, couldn't navigate unfamiliar terrain fast enough to escape collapsing ecosystems. They died with full stomachs. The knowledge that could have saved them had already been traded for comfort. Ability 2, Extreme Cold Adaptation. Your ancestors didn't just survive ice ages. Their bodies rewired themselves to run hotter. Modern humans carry brown adipose tissue, brown fat concentrated around the neck and shoulders. Unlike white fat, which stores energy, brown fat burns it to generate heat. Newborns have the most active brown fat of any life stage. It is why a baby can be born into a cold room and survive without shivering. But here's the counterintuitive detail that separates this from everything else. Adults can reactivate their brown fat. Studies from the National Institutes of Health showed that men exposed to 60-degree temperatures for just 2 hours a day over 1 month increased their brown fat activity by 42%. The machinery never left. It went dormant. Now ask yourself, what happened to the hominin populations that couldn't activate this response fast enough? Look at the Neanderthals. We used to think they went extinct because they were inferior, less intelligent, less creative. That narrative is dead. Neanderthals had larger brains than you. They buried their dead with flowers. They made jewelry. They made art. They made medicine. yarrow, and chamomile found in their dental calculus at El Cedron, Spain. And their bodies were physically superior cold weather machines, stockier builds, larger nasal cavities for warming air, higher basal metabolic rates. And yet, roughly 40,000 years ago, they vanished. The current consensus among paleoanthropologists is not that Homo sapiens outsmarted them. It's that during Heinrich Event 4, a brutal cold snap, Neanderthal populations were already so small and so genetically isolated that a single generation of reproductive failure collapsed them. They were perfectly adapted to cold, until the cold got worse, and their specialized bodies could not pivot fast enough. Specialization is a bet. Sometimes you lose. Ability 3, persistence hunting. You were once the greatest long-distance runner on the planet, not metaphorically, biomechanically. Humans have 3 adaptations no other animal combines. First, we sweat across our entire skin surface instead of panting, which means we can cool ourselves while running. Second, we have a nuchal ligament at the base of our skull that stabilizes our head during impact, something only running animals possess. Third, we have spring-like arches in our feet and long Achilles tendons that store and return energy with every stride. There is exactly one hunting strategy that uses all 3 simultaneously. Persistence hunting. You don't outsprint the animal. You jog after it for hours. The antelope sprints away, stops to pant, sprints again, over and over, but it cannot pant and run at the same time. You can. Eventually, it collapses from hyperthermia. Its brain literally cooks, and you walk up and kill it. Anthropologist Louis Liebenberg documented Kalahari persistence hunts where a single sand hunter ran an antelope to death over 35 kilometers. It takes 4 to 6 hours. At the end, the hunter walks home carrying the carcass. Now, what happened to the populations that couldn't do this? Look at the archaeological record of early groups entering dense rainforest environments. The Congo Basin, the Ituri Forest, where persistence hunting is physically impossible because visibility drops to 20 meters. Those who tried to hunt the way their ancestors did on the open savanna, they starved. The ones who survived abandoned the chase entirely. They adopted net hunting, cooperative, stationary, or became specialized gatherers. The skill didn't fade. The environment changed. And the ones who couldn't change with it died with spears in their hands. Ability 4, digestive flexibility. The 4th ability is the one you use every day and never think about until it fails. Your digestive system is not one system. It is a microbial ecosystem containing roughly 38 trillion bacteria across more than 1,000 different species. And ancestral human gut microbiomes were dramatically more diverse than yours. A 2022 study comparing the gut microbiota of Hadza hunter-gatherers to industrialized populations found that the Hadza carry roughly 30% more microbial diversity. They have bacterial strains that have disappeared entirely from Western gut species that break down complex plant fibers. Species that synthesize vitamins we now take in pill form. Species we may never recover. Every time a human population lost a food source through migration, climate change, or cultural shift, the gut bacteria specialized to process that food died with it. And once a strain is gone, you don't get it back. Your children inherit your diminished microbiome. What happened to populations who lost their digestive flexibility too abruptly? The Norse settlers of Greenland. They arrived in 985 AD. They thrived for centuries, and then they vanished. For decades, the mystery was, why didn't they just eat fish? The Inuit populations around them survived just fine on marine resources. But isotopic analysis of Norse bones tells a devastating story. Even as their livestock starved and their crops failed during the Little Ice Age, the Norse kept eating like Europeans. They did not adopt marine diets. They let their cattle die in the fields and then starved beside them. You are living through the longest period of comfort any human population has ever experienced. Climate-controlled rooms, calories on demand, navigation by GPS, social connection mediated by screens. Every single one of these conveniences is an environmental pressure turned off, and every pressure turned off is an adaptation, slowly, silently being erased. So the question is not what abilities you've already lost. The question is, what are you losing right now that you won't notice is gone until you need it? What was the most surprising ability you learned you'd lost? Drop it below. I read every comment. And subscribe so you don't miss the next one.